First Things First is sponsored by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Back here, First Things First, former NFL general manager Mike Tannenbaum joins the show.
Hey, Mike, good to see you.
What a beginning there.
Yeah. I mean, every day.
That's my guy.
Boy, it was
he actually threw coffee on me. Hey, man. Okay, yeah, exactly. Hey. Watch it.
Big day in New York City. Both New York teams had a lot going on in NFL free agency. So I'll start with the Giants. Tough day for Giants fans. Anytime you realize your team is in rebuild mode, you have to be concerned. Big Blue trading away Odell Beckham Jr. to the Browns. Their offense now Saquon Barkley, a 38-year-old quarterback, and some other players. Many are now questioning the front office, which also let Landon Collins walk. But GM Dave Gettleman said Giants have a plan and, quote, this is part of it. Mike, you buying that the Giants have a plan after dealing Odell?
Absolutely. We got to give this a grade of incomplete. Free agency is 24 hours old. It started a year ago. They drafted Saquon Barkley, obviously a tremendous talent. And they, knowing Dave and knowing his approach, offensive line. So sign Nate Solder, draft Will Hernandez in the second round. And now they have ammunition if they want to go up and get a quarterback, in this year's draft. Obviously, the safety is a concern, but they go out, they sign Antoine Bethea, and Julius Peppers is part of the trade as well.
Peppers. They bring in Jabril Peppers to replace Landon Collins. I'm okay with giving the Odell trade an incomplete, just like I was when they traded away Khalil Mack. I didn't like the trade, but you can't judge it until you see what they get back for him.
Right, that's right.
I don't think, though, it's unfair to say the approach in year one was to come in year one in the introductory press conference, say it's not torch the whole place and bring in a new 53, and now you got about a dozen guys left from when you got there, and you are starting the process of bringing in essentially a new 53 plus Eli Manning and Zach Diassi, your long snapper. That it is a divergence from where they thought they were initially.
Yes. There definitely is different than what they thought. But my question to you is, because you've been part of a couple different organizations helping cultivate the culture and bring talent in there, how hard is it for, like someone in Gettleman's position? Because I remember, man, I've been on TV a long time. A lot of times my encounters with people are not necessarily great. Tannenbaum, we got some mutual friends, but I had said something on TV one time, and he was like, I didn't agree with that. He called my phone afterwards, and I was like, man, I really respect that. But how hard is it to convey what your message is and what you're trying to do? Because you can't tell the public everything, but you have to be able to tell them something. You're more comfortable with those message points. Explain that part to us.
No, Chris, that's a great point. As a former player, I think you'll appreciate this. When you're Dave Gettleman and you're dealing with Eli Manning, your audience is the locker room, because they're going to say, hey, this is a guy that's a championship quarterback in New York City, and how they treat him is really important, because all the other players are going to say, how you treat Eli, hey, that's how they could treat me one day. So, Nick, going back to your point, yeah, maybe they didn't get the quarterback a year ago, but Dave Gettleman and Pat Shurmur weren't hired on a one-year deal. So, to me, they got Barkley. They're starting the offensive line. Look, they lost a generational talent in Beckham. We all know that. But, we're sitting here. It's, free agency is less than 24 hours old. Let's see where we are after the draft.
Gettleman said that you could win. Well, he was asked a million different ways, but that, yeah, this team could still win while they're in this sort of rebuilding the roster mode. How, and is that possible?
Yeah, I think the key in today's football is you have to win for today and develop for tomorrow, because if you're just developing for tomorrow, you could look in Cleveland, right? They've developed for a lot of new head coaches and a lot of new GMs. So I think what Dave's talking about there is you go back to some of those great Carolina Panther teams that he was a part of.
Yes.
Strong defense, strong front seven, strong offensive line. So again, going back to last year, adding Solder, drafting Hernandez, I think that's what Dave's talking about.
Right. In your association with the league, given that right now, man, everyone is about, as part of Saturday football in college, is starting to come to the NFL. How effective? Because I always say you're going to have a couple organizations going to be able to play power football, because that's just what they're going to do. Either the quarterback's not going to be able to throw, or they just don't have the weapons to be able to do it. In today's NFL, what Gettleman is trying to do, trying to duplicate what they did in Carolina, how effective, or do you think is that the most effective way to build a football team when now we're basically throwing it 65 to 70% of the time?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Obviously, the sport's involved, but, you can look up north at, Coach Belichick and the way they've won. They've won a lot of different ways. A couple of years, when they've had prolific, offenses with, Randy Moss, and they've put a lot of points up. And other times, like you can look at the team this year. You wouldn't say that was a prolific offense.
Very good point. Yes.
Right, but they were effective. So I think that's what good coaching and good organizations are. Is like, how do we have a chance to win this year and keep building? So your point's fair, Chris. What plays on Saturday is what's going to come out and we're going to play with. And you do have to evolve, but you can still have those core principles.
All right, so you bring up Coach Belichick. I am very confident, without knowing Bill Belichick personally, that Bill Belichick, what he would be doing this week once he gets off the beach, wherever he's vacationing while
a well-deserved break.
Absolutely. While everyone's overspending in free agency, is he would call up Eli Manning and he would say, we really appreciate you and your championships, and we want to keep you here. We've said we want to keep you here for another year, but I need you to take a salary reduction. There is not a market available for Eli Manning this year to make $17 million, which is what the Giants are going to pay him in bonus and salary. We need to free up that space. How do you have that conversation if you're Dave Gettleman? And would you have that conversation of, hey, you're going to become the highest paid player in the history of the sport this year. You're going to pass your brother. Manning brothers done well for themselves, but we need you to take a pay cut? Or do you think he's untouchable within the organization?
Nick, one of Coach Belichick's superpowers is before he went on the beach 6 months ago, he was playing for his replacement. So you could look at the left tackle situation in New England. Nate Soldier leaves. They bring in Trent Brown. They draft Isaiah Wynn from the University of Georgia a year ago. He's going to be their new left tackle. So that replacement's been in the building for a year. Garoppolo is a great example. They draft him. So if they have to have that conversation with Tom Brady, they're prepared. The question is, Kyle Lauletta, a fourth-round pick out of Richmond last year, can he replace, Eli Manning? Answer is probably not at this point. So when you have those hard conversations, that preparation takes 6 months to a year beforehand.
So you're saying you can't, you think it's harder to, I just want to make sure I understand, harder to ask him to take a pay cut when he knows if I say no, you're not cutting me.
That's right. That's exactly right. Like, you have to plan for that conversation not to go great. I've had a lot of those in my career. Some have gone well, some haven't. But you want to be prepared for that player to walk. And more importantly, what's the plan when he walks out the door? And sometimes that answer takes about 12 months to get ready for.
All right, Mike, stick around. Coming up, is Kyler Murray the guaranteed #1 overall pick? That's next.